Zoom recording. So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to week 4. So, we are halfway through the boot camp, the training, and I just hope you guys are learning, not just for the test, but at least you are kind of getting yourself familiarized with the concept of knowledge management. And that was my whole strategy was not just for you to pass exam, but also to be able to speak the language, to understand what the community lingo is. Understand we're going to be learning about knowledge management best practices in the future class, but I just wanted you to at least grasp the concept of knowledge management. And while you are also learning to pass the exam, that was the whole thing. So we are halfway through. I hope it's not too boring, but it's definitely rewarding when it's all said and done. So last week, week 3, we talked about uh, uh, you know, we defined knowledge management strategy. What exactly is KM strategy, and why is it important? We talked about that. We explored several factors. We talked about culture, we talked, technology, and we talked about how to build a successful knowledge management strategy. I shared with you guys some of the templates, a basic template of a KM strategy. We also looked at how KM initiative supports the broader goal of, any organizational mission. Um, and lastly, we learned how to draft a compelling KM framework. And we looked at the stakeholders, how to get champions to be the ones to speak on your behalf when it comes to your own KM program. And I hope you guys were able to grasp one or two things. You don't have to know everything about what I talked about, but just knowing a little bit helps. Okay, so that said, this week, welcome to week 4 once again. But this week, we are going to be talking about value discipline. Okay. We're going to, what does value discipline mean? And we're going to look at uh, uh, um, a few value discipline concepts. We're going to look at the importance of KM strategy once again. We are going to look at some systems requirement when you're building a KM system. So if you're building a KM system or you are recommending one for your organization,
So we can hear you.
right? All right. Welcome back. It's exactly 10 a.m. Please, can you hear me? Just want to make sure that you guys can hear me. Anyone, just let me know that you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. Thank you so much. Now, we talked about value discipline earlier. We talked about operational excellence. We talked about the focus was on product leadership, and then we talked about customer relationship. And I think Ms. Victor said we gave an example why Amazon is dominating the market today. And Ms. Victor said because they are customer centric. So that's the word, you know, that stands out when it comes to Amazon. They are customer centric, and it's important to know that when you are building out a KM program, you want to cater for your customer, and even no matter the business that you build, you want to make sure that it's customer focused or customer centric, like she said. That is the essence of understanding that particular value discipline. Okay. All right. So uh, the next thing we're going to be talking about today is the importance of KM strategy. So we last week we started learning about KM strategy. We defined KM strategy and why it's a game changer. We explored some, consideration when it comes to KM strategy. We talked about a whole lot. Having a champion, a KM champion, and all that. So why is KM strategy important? So why do you have to have KM strategy? Why is it important? Why is strategy at all in any business? Why is it even important? You have to understand this in order for you to now know that when you're building out your KM program, you have to focus on what strategy that you are going to be using. So what? So I have three things highlighted here. Number one is that strategy improves the building, provides the building block used to achieve organizational learning and continuous improvement through avoidance of time wasting, repeating mistakes that you've made before, and making everyone aware of a new and better ways of thinking and making decisions. Number two, it enables your entire workforce to communicate and collaborate in a way that helps them build, work more efficiently. And the last one I put here is that it supports organizations in building high performance team and maintaining a high performing organization. That is why number one, your KM strategy is important, right? So a KM strategy is also important because it helps transforms the random knowledge sharing activities into a deliberate coordinated effort that direct supports in the organization's core goal. So now you're not doing it because you just want to do it. You're doing it because you're intentional. You want it to be able to focus on your organizational goal. Every strategy, every KM activities that you engage in, every KM project that you engage in must be tied to your overall organizational strategy, right? And then your KM strategy should be tied into or should be aligned into your organizational strategic objective. So without a strategy, your KM is just a collection of tools and hopeful practices. So with a strategy, now it becomes a disciplined system for leveraging intellectual capital to gain a competitive advantage. So when you have, there's a reason why you have a KM strategy in order for you to gain competitive advantage. So think of it as, just think of KM strategy as a bridge that is between the organization's goal and the knowledge that is needed to achieve them. So KM strategy is the one standing in between. So you have your organization goal, and then how do you achieve those goals? KM is going to help you drive you to the finish line. For instance, you have a scatter tool, you have, you know, different tools all over the place. Like I don't know if you guys have in your organization, you have what they call shared drive, or if you have a SharePoint, there's a wiki, you know. So when you see a wiki, sometimes it is like there's no clear purpose. You have, anything you need, you just dump it there as a dumping ground. But when you have a strategy, it will help you, outline how this is supposed to be. You know, it shows you where things should be and how those things are supposed to be. So KM strategy helps you have a targeted plan that ensures that every knowledge activities, from things like capturing knowledge, looking at your lesson learned after a particular project, helping you build an expert system or expertise locators. So your strategy will help you, will be purposeful when it comes to designing, how to, get a particular business result. KM's strategy is going to help you get there. So you don't look at KM strategy as a nice to have. It's a must have when you're doing you're doing any project. So it should be your core business practice. When you set up any KM program, your strategy should be your core business practice. It should be one of the things you do because that's what should drive your success. All right. So that is why KM strategy is important. It should drive, how you do things. So what happens? How, in talking about the significance of KM strategy, right? What happens? How does this help you? So number one, KM strategy will help you, with your overall organizational strategic alignment. Number two, it will help you gain competitive advantage, and also how you make decision. Your strategy is going to help you. If the way you make decision, how you make the decision, your KM strategy is supposed to be embedded into the fabric of the how you operate entirely. So let's take, for instance, strategic alignment. So when you're talking about strategic alignment, it helps you so that your KM program or any project that you're trying to do is not like a wasted effort. So what happens is, yeah, now your KM strategy now aligns all your knowledge management initiatives into your main or your core business objective. For instance, your objective might be to be an innovative organization, to drive operational efficiency. And we talked also about customer satisfaction. Those are your business objective or your core business objective. KM is going to help you get there. So KM strategy is going to, for instance, when you're talking about this strategic alignment, it will help you answer the questions like why, or how, and making sure that you as an organization or the expert that is driving all this decision making, you're managing the right knowledge for the right reason. Now let's take a look at giving you a competitive advantage. So for a competitive advantage, now your strategy will now be turned into, it will change that knowledge that you have into a weapon, against your competitors. So basically, now you have a systematic way of capturing, sharing, and applying knowledge. That will help your organization to innovate faster. So if there's anything trending, any innovative pathway, you're doing it, but you're doing it faster. KM is going to help you drive it faster. If you're solving problem, it's going to help you solve more problem more effectively. And also, any mistake that you've made before, it will help you not to make that mistake before, because now you're applying what they call lesson learned or after action review. Every project, at the end of every project, at the end of everything you do an after action review. That what could you have done better? But the lesson learned from that is you have to capture it, you have to write it down somewhere. So that means that whatever thing you create, because you're applying some knowledge management best practices, your competitors cannot replicate it. So if they see you succeeding, because you are applying KM principle, KM strategy, they are not able to do it because your own is purposeful, your own is intentional. So the last one here says improve decision making. How does your KM strategy help you solve that? So it provides the right information to the right people at the right time. This we talked about last week. So your KM strategy breaks down information from information silos, like all those people that are doing their own things differently, right? They have their own way of doing knowledge management. They have their own way of capturing. KM is going to now bring everything together using a collaborative tool to ensure that your decision making, in an organization is better, is effective, is efficient. So now is leading to better informed workforce, better informed organization, faster decision making, and everyone within the organization is now well informed because now you have a place where you have a central place where information is captured. Is the knowledge hub. That is where everything about the organization you can come to that centralized place and be able to effectively manage whatever knowledge, whatever information that you're dealing with. The other one is operational efficiency. We have retention of critical knowledge. We have enhanced innovation and learning. And also we have clear governance. Most organizations have a governance board. They have the way, so basically the role of a governance board or governance is you're thinking of compliance. You're thinking of how do you comply. So you have a group of people that say, okay, that looks at the way things should. So before you buy anything, before you go into any acquisition or procurement effort, these people will look at compliance, make sure that you are within your bounds, that you're spending the money purposefully for what it should. So that's where governance comes. Most organizations have that set up. So KM, strategy helps you with operational efficiency. It helps you retain critical knowledge. It helps you enhance innovation. So how does it help you? With operational efficiency by eliminating redundant work and reinvention. I talked to us last time. I said, as a KM person, don't look to reinventing the wheel. That is a no-no. We talked about KM no-no, right? You cannot reinvent the wheel. If something is already working, take from that thing that is already working and improve it by sharing best practices. Lesson learned once again. Employees don't have to start from the scratch. You don't have to start from the scratch. With that, you're reducing the cost, you're saving time, you're streamlining something, which will directly impact your bottom line. I had a contract, a contract that we were doing in my organization, and in the middle of the at the end of the option year, the people that were supporting me the division that was the directorate that was supporting me didn't exercise the option, so they decided to go with another vendor. They decided to go with another vendor. So now I'm like, okay, we were in the middle of as a user acceptance testing. We're supposed to do the user acceptance testing sometime in September before this whole contracting changed, and the contract was handed over to the next person, to the next vendor, right? When they met with me because I was now their customer, right? I this is what I told them. I said, I don't want you to scrap everything that the other contractors have done. Let's continue from where they stopped because what they showed me they were intending to start from beginning. I said no, 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 no. We worked. There was something that happened a year before you showed up. So I'm not going to flush out all those years of work. But if you show me, if we do the user acceptance testing and I don't like what the other people did, then we can think of maybe starting afresh. But because of knowledge management, I didn't have to start afresh. And now we are going to start from where those people stopped and do the user acceptance test and see if you know uh, 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 um, uh, what we can change or what we might decide not to change. Now it's going to impact our bottom line. Now, if the timeline they gave me is a year, it's because they are starting from where those other people stopped. It's going to run us about 6 months. The other one is retention of critical knowledge. How does that happen? It mitigates the risk of brain drain that people are about to retire in your organization. KM is going to help you look at those people that are about to retire and start interviewing them and start doing knowledge audit and start capturing information from them, and also look towards having them have mentees, that people that can look to them and learn from them. Although if you do, most organizations do what they call exit interview. Exit interview is not enough. Exit interview is not enough. But if you do knowledge audit, if you do knowledge transfer audit, learn from them. Maybe if they have to, the highest you can do exit interview is an hour. Some people might not even have time to do that, and they are not obligated to, right? They can decide to go. But if you start doing that exit interview or knowledge audit a long time before they retire, you're able to gain more things. So you look towards your retiring employees, people that are going to leave, and KM strategy provides a system for you to be able to capture this tacit knowledge. Remember, we talked about tacit knowledge, those things that is in that person's mind that they gather through experience, those institutional knowledge from those individuals, memories. You're able to capture those things because you started a long time ago. So KM strategy, if you have your strategy, it's going to help you to be able to capture those critical knowledge. The other one is enhancing or enhanced innovation and learning by creating a culture of continuous improvement. So your KM strategy will now facilitate connection of ideas and people. For example, through community of practice, you have said community of practice several times. This is like a group of people that share knowledge. They share best practices. They share what they know. That helps you create a fertile environment for new ideas, and organizational learning is improved. So if they go somewhere, if maybe they went to a training and they came back from the training, they will go to that group that you set up, the community of practice, and say, hey, this is what is happening now in the environment of knowledge management, and everybody will learn it. The last one here on this slide says a clear governance and focus. What happens? It provides a roadmap and defines your success. What does success sound like? What do you understand by success? What does success mean? When you establish a KM program, what is success? How do you measure success? So your strategy now establishes priorities, defines roles and responsibilities, allocates resources effectively, and set a measurable goal, achievable goal. So it helps your KM, it prevents it from becoming an unfocused and underfunded initiative to a well intended program and a funded program. Now, because people will not take you seriously and say, you know what, I'll buy into this because this thing makes sense. People will always gravitate towards success. Your champion, your KM champion, if they see that, oh man, this people is doing great things, they will buy into it. They will champion your cause, your KM program, because they've seen results, they've seen what you're doing. That is how they buy into it. So this is how you make yourself marketable. This is how you retain when everyone is losing their job or is afraid because you have embedded yourself as a KM person. You should be able to embed yourself in everything within the organization, starting from the organization strategy, everything you're doing, even to you as an individual. Going forward, I would assume that you will look at when you go to work on Monday, look for your organizational strategy for those that have a job. What is your organizational strategic objective? Look at it and then see yourself. See what I'm doing. Ask yourself this question: what I'm doing now in this organization, how can it be reflected on the overall organizational strategy? If it's not, then find a way, talk to your supervisor and find a way that you can, or you can even ask the supervisor, how does what I do align to the organizational strategy? That is how, when whatever project, it might be the big project, whatever thing you're doing, you know, it now reflects to the overall organizational objective. That's how you make yourself valuable and relevant within the organization. That is what I do. That is what I do because you also want to protect your job. So you're not protecting your job through knowledge hoarding. Knowledge hoarding as a knowledge management practitioner or as a KM expert, you should not encourage knowledge hoarding. In fact, your role is to make sure that you see those people that are hoarding knowledge and motivate them to share knowledge. Your duty is to help share the organizational knowledge. So anyone that is hoarding knowledge, it shouldn't be, you shouldn't be playing on your team. You should bring them out and make sure they don't do that. Now, like every other thing, like every other thing that have advantage, that it's important in the organization, there's also barriers. So what are the barriers? What makes a KM strategy not to be effective, not to work very well? What stops it from functioning? What stops it from, working the way it should? Number one is lack of time. So sometimes, when you're setting up a KM project or a KM program, some of your customers might always ask you to do more. Or when you set up your goal and your scope, they will always want you to do more, to go outside the scope. So now your duty is to make sure that you prevent some scope creeps, because you think that there's time. There is no time for you to do a whole lot that you want to do. So you want to make sure that you're guiding against those demand for you to always add something, for you to always, do more, for you to always do more. So you want to focus on outline, your objective. And then also within your objective, within your scope, you tell them, so these are what we are supposed to do. These are what you're supposed to do. Then these are what we are now going to be able to do. We are not going to be doing this. So now you have a clear way of telling them that, yes, this is what I'm set out to do for this to succeed. But here are the stuff that I'm not going to be able to do within the guideline of this particular project. You have to be able to articulate that and let them know we can do this. The second point here is trying to solve large problem. The complexity of KM, knowledge management. And if you recall last week, I said look for the low hanging fruit. What is the problem that you're trying to solve immediately? What is the problem that you can solve immediately that will give you, that will be successful, that will give you traction? Look for those smaller projects that are impactful. So maybe it might be that people are not able to find information. So people are not able to find information. Maybe you need to change the mindset of people on where they. So you start. Remember, I talked about culture, people, process, and technology. So you start with people first. So you're doing your investigation, maybe knowledge access, right? You're assessing knowledge, you're doing your evaluation. You're trying to find out how do people capture knowledge now? Where do you put your information or your data, your knowledge base? How does it look like? Maybe because they are not able to find something is because the knowledge is scattered everywhere. So now you start by sensitizing them on how to a particular place where they should be putting information. You start from there. The next step will be for you now to say, okay, we need to now establish a process on how to do this. Now, your final effort should be on, now creating a knowledge hub, a tool. So the tool should always be the last. All right. So when you try to solve a large problem, and remember, there's no way you can solve all the organizational issues. There's no way. So you look for a quick win, the one that you can solve immediately, the one that you can tackle now, and you address it. So the third one here is about converting knowledge, capturing knowledge. And we talked about the tacit knowledge that is very, very critical, very, very difficult to capture. How do you address that? Remember the example I gave about the bakery, how the individual, in order for them to transfer the tacit knowledge, the baker, what they did was to now create a video. Not only that they created a video, they documented it somewhere and also they also gave the master plan or the cookbook to the new person. So now the person is able to read the master plan, the master cookbook, and also watch the video. So in order for you to convert knowledge or capture it now, you're doing things that you usually don't do by creating a video, showing it to maybe the new people, documenting it, now also showing them that, okay, this is how you do this thing. And not only that, you now have those people come and shadow you. They'll have to learn on the job, they have to hands on. You have to be able to show them that, hey, you need to learn. You need to come and watch me do it. So, because sometimes there are things that women have. It's called intuition. Is God's feeling, right? That intuition most times is gotten from experience, from your past experience. Imagine something happened to you. You something happened to you. You were dealing with people and they did something that you didn't fancy, right? For lack of a better word, you didn't fancy what they did, and then you're faced with another situation, the same exact situation. All of a sudden, you're having this in thinking like, well, I've experienced this before. and this might not be good. It will come down natural because of your experience from the past that happened to you. So, stuff like that, what you learned from your experience, sometimes is hard because this is years of experience. Now, because you've gone through the years doing the same exact thing. If they wake you up now, some of you that are IT professionals or health professional, or you're into real estate, there are certain things in your own environment, or that you can say no, I don't think this is right. No, this will always end up bad. Maybe a customer calls for you to solve a tech support issue. You say, oh, no, 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 no. This is how you always solve the problem because you have experienced people call you for this particular issue. All of a sudden, it becomes your second nature. And people are like, okay, um, that individual, because you solved that problem. Next time when they call, they might say, hey, can I talk to that person that helped me before? Because they understand your problem. They understand, they have a historical background of what, and their experience. They can say, oh, I can solve it this way. This is how to solve the problem. you and you're learning this thing, this thing because of not because of past experience, because of what how you've solved this problem time and time again. So it's now your second nature. So you have that gut feeling that, okay, at the end of the day, it's always going to result this way. From my experience, I've had situations where something happened to me and I'm like, okay, and I face that same situation. I'm like, okay, I know that this is how this is going to end. So naturally, that is what you call, you have that knowledge that you can't transfer it to anywhere, but you learned it through your, experience. So trying to convert those knowledge, trying to transfer it is very hard to capture. Now, the fourth one here is a lengthy time period, long term goal, having a long term goal, for something. Sometimes there's nothing wrong with it, but you want to make sure that, what is your quick win? Before you establish a long term goal, have a short term goal. Because with your short term goal, so you have a long term goal, but within that long term goal, have a short term goal within the long term goal on how to achieve the long term goal. But some people will just have a long term goal without having focusing on the short term. To have it goes back to that quick win, having a quick win. And the last one here talks about lack of learning or lesson learned. As a KM practitioner, part of you always, as soon as you're talking, always put out the word lesson learned. So you're establishing a project, you're starting a program, always put, within there, how do you capture your lesson learned? If you don't do that, then you are not going to be very successful in the next project because there are mistakes that you made in the previous project that will help you. If you know what you know now, you should be able to overcome whatever challenge that is going to face you in the next one. Now you're able to capture it. But the good thing about this is now you build a system that captures the lesson learned. So, as part of your project, as part of your program or project charter, you have to build in there a lesson learned. Every program that I have, every project that I have, I've always put lesson learned because you want to be able, if when you are no longer in that project, the person that comes behind you should be able to say, look at the lesson learned in order to move on to the next one. So the primary barriers to a KM strategy are not technological. They are not. It's not about technology. Your barrier, see, everything that I said here I intentionally skipped technology because your primary barrier, your primary challenge, your primary roadblock is not technology, but human and cultural and organizational. All boils down to people. Remember, people, process, and technology as the last, go to. Your final go to should always be technology. That's what in KM community, that's what we preach. We want you not to throw everything, because when you throw technology at every problem, then people are now technology centric. They think technology is going to solve it. But you forget that before the technology, have you did you think about the culture of the people? Because if someone is used to doing something a particular way, and then you say, "Oh, we want you to change to start using this tool," they say, "Oh, they've come again. Here's another thing that I have to do." But if you change their mindset, the culture, maybe the problem is not about the tool, it's about the process. The process might be broken. And maybe it's not even about the process. There are no people that are willing to embrace what you're doing. And that's why even the tool that you're going to throw on it eventually should have the end users in mind. You have to carry all of them along. So the barriers, pay attention to this one. The barriers to your KM strategy are not technological, but human, cultural, and organizational. Even with the best tool and with the best KM intention, KM initiatives also fail because they underestimate the profound shift in people's behavior and mindset. So, for you to become a KM organization or a knowledge management organization, you have to change the mindset of the people. You have to start with the people. You have to show them that if someone is an expert in Excel, for instance, or an expert in Microsoft Access or SQL Server, or they are expert in cyber, those people, you look at those people and you make sure that you highlight their importance within the organization, and you celebrate them, you motivate them to share what they know, and say, hey, you highlight them, say, hey, in this organization, if you need this person, if you need someone who knows how to do this, here is the person to go to. This is your point of contact. And also, you meet those people and say, hey, how can I do your job better? What is it that you do? Maybe that person might be for instance, let's say that person is an accountant in your organization or a HR person. It's okay. You are the HR person. How can I do your job better? How can I help you so that your job is, easier and more effective? You ask those people, and they say, oh, I can do this for you. I say, oh, you can do that. Okay. As soon as you are able to show that you can use a process change, or to make their job more efficient, they will buy into it. Now you have one knowledge management asset. You have a knowledge worker. You can call them your knowledge worker. And then you can now establish a working group of taking different experts, different people from different divisions, from different branches, and then forming this KM working group or a community of practice where you guys share knowledge. From there, you guys now can start discussing how you can change the process. You carry everybody along. And then finally, boom, you now throw in a tool, a KM tool, as part of your initiative. Now, you realize that the central theme on all the barriers that I listed today, the lack of time, the trying to solve a large problem, converting knowledge, which is knowledge capture, a length of time period, which is long-term goal, and lack of learning, lesson learned. The central theme across it is all about changing human behavior. Lack of time is about changing human behavior. Trying to solve a large problem is human behavior. Knowledge capture is human behavior. Long-term goal is human behavior. right? Trying to solve it. It's critical to come up with a long-term goal. It's important. But do you have a short-term plan, a short-term goal on how to achieve those goals? Lack of learning. All these things are all about human behavior. That is why an effective KM focuses on people and process. People first. And I think when we started this lesson, someone was asking if AI is going to change things. No, AI is not going to take anybody's. Yeah, to a certain extent. AI is going to, when it comes to system automation, yes, AI is going to be there. But there are certain things that AI cannot replicate. AI cannot take it. AI, as it stands now, there's a lot of mistakes when it comes to AI. So you cannot, any well-meaning professional cannot fully rely on AI. If you do that, you're making a big mistake. So what do you do? People are important. So you use your technology as just an enabler. Your technology, AI should be an enabler. Technology should be an enabler. A successful KM strategy must first and foremost address the culture. What is the organizational culture? Basically, when I'm talking about organizational culture, I'm talking about how do you people store information now? How do you store knowledge? People say, oh, we put everything we put on share drive. Some people say, oh, everything we put it on SharePoint. In my agency, now we are focusing on not putting because our SharePoint is different. Our SharePoint is on cloud now. So we have limited amount of things that we use SharePoint as just basically information sharing. But when it comes to or maybe basic collaboration, but when it comes to storage, we use the share drive. And the share drive, we have a file plan. We have a file plan. Through knowledge management, we're able to come up with a file plan on how everything is stored. The administrative folder, we have each, contract, we have procurement, we have, different things. Very, very well aligned. So you address the culture. What is the culture? What do they do? In some organizations, there are, they have issue with the way they call things, the nomenclatures. They say here we don't call it cases, we call it activities, or we call it, they call something differently. So everywhere, different organizations have a way they call, they don't have a common nomenclature for calling something. Say, oh, we call it case here. In this place, oh, we call it is a case, a workload or something. So you have to decide, you as a KM person, now come up with start a common nomenclature. But before you do that, you have to make sure that you have the buy-in of every person. And how do you get the buy-in of every? You identify from each group, from each division, from each work unit, from each branches. You identify someone that is going to be your knowledge management person or point of contact. So when you relay an information, they take it back to their team. So that's why I said a successful KM strategy must focus on culture and some motivational hurdles, that will help you convince those people that are experts to be able to share knowledge and not to hoard it. All right. So that concludes our training for this section. So we have 1 minute. I'll give it, a time for you guys to ask any question before we go on break. I would like you to come back at 11 o'clock. It's exactly 10:44. I want you to come back at 11 sharp. Um, okay. So any question before we go on break? Any question at all? I want to be able to end at least a minute before, you guys go on break to give you time to ask questions. So any question, any question. So pay attention. So some barriers, this might be an exam question, lack of time, trying to solve problems, large problems, converting knowledge, lengthy time, not having a long-term goal without no short-term strategy or goal to be able to solve it, and lack of learning. All right, so take your 10, 15 minutes and come back at 11. Let's continue. Good morning and welcome back from your break. Um, so let's dive into KM system requirements. So, as a KM expert, the organization would definitely rely on you to share your expertise on what type of requirements, what, that the system, that the KM that they intend to deploy, what would have, what it should have. So you are going to be the person that is going to be the final word, final person to tell them, hey, I think this is good or this is not. So for any IT systems to be classified as a knowledge management system, it must fulfill several requirements. So it's not going to just be in a vacuum. For you to say, hey, this is an IT, this is a KM system. For that particular thing to be classified as a KM system, um, it should be it should have several requirements that, but we're going to just look at the fundamental ones that I think every basic KM system should have. So number one, it must support the full KM life cycle from knowledge creation. So when you're talking about life cycle of KM, you're talking about knowledge creation through knowledge distribution, through knowledge management to retirement, and not just a particular subset of it. It has to take the entire KM life cycle. So that's number one focus. Now, the other one is there should be an appropriate mechanism for validation and authentication of knowledge that encapsulates the system. So this was what Camara et al. Said in 2000, that for you to have for a KM system to be classified as a KM system, it should have the appropriate mechanism that should be able to validate. So it should have mechanism for validation and authentication of knowledge, all right, that is within the system. So there should be a way that you should be able to validate that. There should be a way that you should be able to authenticate what knowledge, is in the system. So there should be a way. You're doing your knowledge audit. You're doing your knowledge map. Okay, go ahead, uh, Miss Habiba. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, everyone.
Mhm.
So, this is my second class, my second time joining this class. I kind of have a question, in relation to all that's been taught. I see from your explanation, this has to do with, a KM, or the role of a KM has to do more with, understanding the administrative process, the operational process of a company. Now, I want to take you to, the technical part of things, right? Like
Mhm.
talking from a cloud engineer perspective, the tools that we use, they change often, right? We have
Mhm.
infrastructural tools, we have monitoring tools, networking tools that changes very often. So my
Mm-hmm.
question is, how does a KM stay relevant in that kind of environment? Right? Like how do you kind of keep up with the knowledge? I mean, I'll say the how do you make knowledge current and use I mean yeah, that's the word, current and very useful when the tools that you use can change like within 6 months. How do you keep up with that kind of pace as a KM?
Yes, and
This is this
this
is
is
a
a
very
very
good
good
question,
question,
right?
right? So
So that
that
is
is
why
why
when
when
you're
you're
talking
talking
about
about
strategy,
strategy,
I'm hearing myself. I mean, okay. So
so
you
you
have
have
to
to
be
be
able
able
to,
to,
in
in
your
your
overall
overall
strategy,
strategy,
at
at
least
least
as
as
talking
talking
from a
from the
cloud
cloud
engineer
engineer perspective,
perspective,
your
your
You are echoing, so I
yeah.
yeah.
can't.
So
So
that's
that's
why
why
I'm. Let
let
me
me
see
see
if
if
I
I
can
can
stop
stop this.
this. Hello,
Hello,
how
how
does
does
it
it
sound
sound
now?
now?
Still the same but better.
Is it
Is it
better?
better?
Is it
Is it
Yeah,
better?
better?
I can hear you, so just yeah, maybe yeah, it's better.
Okay.
Okay.
So
So
you
you
have
have
to
to
be
be
able
able
to
to
build
build
your
your
KM
KM
strategy
strategy
with
with your
um the
the
overall
overall
cloud
cloud
architecture.
architecture.
You
You
also
also
have
have
to
to
make
make
sure
sure
that
that
KM.
KM.
So
So
that's
that's
why
why
it's
it's
important
important
for
for
you
you
to
to
make
make
sure
sure
you
you
align
align
your
your
KM
KM
strategy
strategy
into
into
the
the
overall
overall
organization
organization
strategy.
strategy.
Now,
Now,
for
for
you
you
to
to
remain,
remain, you know,
relevant
relevant
and
and
for
for
you
you
to
to
remain
remain
to
to
move
move
to
to
adapt
adapt
with
with
the
the
trend,
trend,
you
you
want
want
to
to
ensure
ensure
that
that
part
part
of
of
what
what
you
you
do,
do,
that
that
KM
KM
is
is
also
also
involved,
involved,
that
that
your
your
KM
KM
program
program
is
is
the
the
one.
one.
So
So
your
your
KM
KM
effort,
effort,
your
your
KM
KM
initiative
initiative
should
should
drive
drive
most
most
of
of
what
what
you
you
do.
do.
For
For
instance,
instance,
let me
let me
give you
give
an
you an
example.
example.
Now
Now
we are
we are
trying
trying
to
to
the
the
current
current
system
system
that
that
we
we
have.
have.
We
We
moved
moved
our
our
system
system
to,
to,
it
it
used to
used to
be
be
an
an
on-prem
on-prem
system,
system,
right?
right?
And we
And we
moved
moved
it
it
to
to
the
the
cloud.
cloud.
Now,
Now,
because
because
of
of
what
what
is
is
happening,
happening,
we
we
can't
can't
sustain
sustain
the
you know
the
the
cost,
cost,
right?
right?
We are
We're
now
now
looking
looking
for a
for a
way
way
to
to
see
see
how
how
we
we
can
can
have
have
the
the
same
same
system,
system
but
but
reduce
reduce
the
the
cost
cost
and
and
also
also
have
have
other
other
things
things
embedded
embedded
in
in
it.
it.
So
So
it
it
has
has
to
to
have
have
an
an
analytical
analytical
part
part
of
of
it.
it.
It
It
has
has
to
to
have
have
a
a
reporting
reporting
part
part
of
of
it,
it,
and
and
also
also
it
it
has
has
to
to
have
have
um, a
um
um, uh,
uh
uh,
uh
a
a
search
search
engine,
engine,
a a
a
mapping
mapping
functionality.
functionality.
So
So
for
for
that
that
particular
particular
system
system
requirement.
requirement.
Now,
Now,
what
what
happened
happened
within
within
my
my
agency
agency
is
is
that
that
the
the
KM
KM
program,
program,
the
the
KM
KM
unit
unit
is
is
what
what
is
is
driving
driving
the
the
us
us
going
going
to
to
the
the
cloud,
cloud,
us
us
going
going
to
to
looking
looking
for a
for a
cloud
cloud
architecture,
architecture,
which
which
we
we
do
do
not
not
have
have
initially.
initially.
So
So
we are
we are
using,
using, you know,
we
we
are
are
like
like
leveraging
leveraging
other
other
people's.
people's.
Now we
Now we
want to
want to
have
have
our
our
own.
own. We
We don't
don't
have
have
it
it
now,
now,
but
but
we're
we're
trying
trying
to
to
get
get
it.
it.
But
But
the
the
person
person
that
that
is
is
driving
driving
it,
it,
the
the
people
people
that
that
are
are
driving
driving
it
it
are
are
the
the
KM
KM
group.
group.
So
So
the
the
knowledge
knowledge
management
management
group
group
is the
is the
one
one
that
that
is
is
driving
driving
it.
it.
That
That
gives
gives
us
us
an
an
advantage
advantage
in the
in the
sense
sense
that
that
when
when
we
we
now
now
move
move
to
to
the
the
cloud,
cloud,
that
that
is
is
our
our
own,
own,
not
not
that
that
we are
we are
using.
using.
Of
Of
course, we
course,
are
we are
using
using
a
a
big
big
data
data
platform,
platform,
which
which
is
is
AWS,
AWS,
but
but
is
is
refactored.
refactored.
Our
Our
own
own
is
is
refactored,
refactored,
meaning
meaning
that
that
the
the
one we
one
are
we are
using
using
is
is
we are
we are
playing in
playing
the
in the
field
field
of
of
AWS,
AWS,
but we
but
are
we are
not
not
using
using
everything
everything
that
that
they
they
have.
have.
So
So
our
our
own
own
is
is
more
more
secured.
secured.
Our
Our
own
own
is
is
tailored
tailored
to
to
us
us
alone.
alone.
So
So
that's
that's
why
why
it's
it's
called
called
refactored.
refactored.
It's
It's
a
a
BDP
BDP
refactored.
refactored.
Now
Now
we are
we are
using
using
it
it
within
within
our
our
enclave,
enclave,
right?
right?
But
But
the
the
people
people
that
that
are
are
driving
driving
the
the
effort
effort
are the
are the
KM
KM
people.
people.
So
So
the
the
KM
KM
program,
program, the
our
our
division
division
is the
is the
KM
KM
program.
program.
We
We
are
are
driving
driving
all
all
this
this
effort,
effort,
and
and
I'm
I'm
leading
leading
that
that
effort.
effort.
So
So
now
now
I'm
I'm
aware,
aware,
right,
right,
that
that
when it comes to cloud, of course, I have Microsoft Azure certification, but that did not get me to that position. What got me to the position is, to be able to drive this effort is because I'm leading this KM group. So KM, and before you join this class, we talked about when you establish your KM program, as part of your strategy, you need to identify where the KM program is going to reside. So that is what keeps you relevant, because now you are driving a whole lot of the discussion, especially when it comes to a place where things are changing. There's a rapidly changing. Now you are at the forefront of it, because all those changes, you are part of it. You are also driving the discussion. So you insert yourself in it. So you're not going to, as a KM person, you cannot take the back seat. You have to always lean forward. So, and that is how you remain relevant. And also you ensure that your KM program is relevant. Now you are deciding who leads what, which person plays what role. That is your duty. You are like the Scrum Master. You are facilitating all the discussion. You are driving it. So you have to lead those efforts. So I don't know if this answers your question, but I'm telling you from our perspective, this is how, from my agency, most of those efforts within our directorate is driven from the KM program, the KM team. So we, in our KM team, right, there's automation. We have people that do automation. We have people that do metrics. We have people that manage all the legacy system, that sustains it. They do system sustenance. There are people that, look at emerging technology within the KM system. So we use our KM program as a problem-solving, outfit for the, for the organization. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, it kind of answers in a way, but maybe not the way I'm looking at it. I know in the last class that I joined, you did talked about tacit knowledge and explicit knowledge, and you mentioned that the tacit one is the one that you have, and then the explicit one are the ones that are documented. And from your explanation, I understand that as a KM, you're supposed to harness this knowledge and document it for others to use it. I know you did mention different steps or ways by which we can do this. Now, relating all this to a Scrum Master that you mentioned, which is also the practice in the cloud, right? As a cloud engineer, we normally have like a Scrum Master that kind of coordinates the team when you're supposed to work on a particular project. Now, if a KM person we have to take time to capture knowledge, right? Or understand the tools that are changing frequently. Now, why can't he just be the technical person who does the work? Because as a KM, you can be paid more than the technical engineers, because they know they are also trying to keep up with the tools, and they are using it. They don't just have a head knowledge, they have technical knowledge. So, and that's why I'm trying to see here that as a KM person, how important is my role, right?
Yeah.
Why should I drift from being a technical engineer to becoming a KM professional?
Yes. Great question. So, your role as a KM person is not administrative. So, please forgive me if maybe there's the assumption that as a KM person, yours is just administrative. For the purpose of this training and for the purpose of what I want you guys to understand is the basic concept of KM. But believe me, as a KM person, you are a technical person. You are the TPOC. You are the technical point of contact. I am a technical point of contact for most of our system. So I'm the person they call, and that's why we're going to go into the systems requirement. You should understand the system requirement, the functional one, and as well,
as the system one. So you understand how the system works. You should have that knowledge, and that is the wealth of it. And that's when it comes to you getting paid a lot of money because of your technical know-how. Yes, you are absolutely correct. As a KM person, you should also learn the technical part. You should also be the technical point of contact. You should understand the technical part. You should know the cloud. You should know how it works. You should know the system network. That is why someone who already have an IT background, information technology background, networking background, you are, good. Someone, there's something they call ITIL, right? It's a certification, ITIL certification, information technology library, and what have you. You should understand how those systems work, at least the basic architecture of your system. So that's why for someone who already have an IT knowledge, right? This is your playing field. But now your advantage is now you know KM best practices. So you're adding your cloud knowledge, your cloud expertise, your cloud architectural expertise, and you're adding knowledge management to it, and it makes you very sellable, and it even makes you very, very marketable within the organization as the expert. Okay, so yeah, your role does not, stop at administrative, or you're the person that give access to the system, you give permission to the system. It's not your role should go beyond that, in the sense that you understand how the system works, all the technical part of the system architecture, the workings of it, the network as well. You should understand that. Yes, you are correct. Your role is not, as an administrative, but rather, you should understand the technical part of the system, because, having that KM best practice knowledge helps you also to be able to, have, look at the big picture. So the KM, you being a KM practitioner helps you with the big picture, because now you understand the strategy. You understand the organization strategy. You understand, but you are driving a whole lot of this strategy and decision making. But your role is not just a subset of the management part of the overall business strategy. Does that answer your question? Does that help?
Yeah, it helps. Thank you, sir.
Does that help?
Oh, yes, I did answer. Yeah, it helps. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So as a KM person, you just have to be proactive. You just have to, lean forward and, help your organization. You're just there, to help, to make sure that you put yourself in a situation where, you're part of the decision making process, and you're leading all these things. You're organizing it, making sure that even with the tool, you have to now say, okay, where is this tool going to reside? We are looking for a tool, and that's why, I talk about people, process, and the technology. So it's part of it. But what I preach, the reason why, I'm leaning towards not making your solution technology central, is because people think that everything is, you just solve problem with technology. No. But for that technology to succeed, for people to actually, for you to leverage that technology for a long time, you have to start with the people, and then go with the process, and then technology is the last, and that's how it becomes sustainable. But if you start with technology, it's like just putting a band-aid in a wound that, quite frankly, is not well healed. So because you didn't solve all that problems before you put the band-aid.
So the technology should be the last port of call. All right. Good. So the next one here is the system should be able to seamlessly integrate with existing legacy IT system with a real or virtual organization. Okay. So these are the three fundamental requirements that your KM system should have. In fact, that your KM system can house also an external system as well within the organization. So the next one, your system has to be flexible enough and easy to use. The system must be well maintained and up to date. The system must be designed in accordance with the organization's goal, culture, and business processes. And this I can say enough. So your end users must be involved in the design and the implementation of the system. Okay. So what do you understand by flexible and easy to use? So these are essential components of a system. So imagine people that are used to doing something a certain way. Imagine people that they are used to doing it. Okay, this is how we do stuff. And then you introduce a tool or a system. Quite frankly, if that system is difficult, it's not user-friendly, within 6 months, people are going to dump it and go back to the way they used to do things. So that's why it's important to get the end users involved from the get-go. And that is why you should look at culture, the way people do things. And then maybe it might even be a policy objective. You know, it might just be a policy thing that now is okay from this day going forward, everyone must have to start using this thing the same. This is how you're going to use it. For example, we used to have a centralized a calendar in my organization. We have a, in my unit, we have a centralized calendar. Now, the centralized calendar is a long-term calendar where if someone is going on leave, can you guys hear me? I want to make sure anyone that hears me, I think that's enough. If I can get a thumbs up, I'll be okay. Can you guys hear me? Yes. Okay. Good. So now we used to have this centralized long-term calendar where we put our leave. If anyone is going somewhere, if anyone is taking a leave, they put it there. It's a centralized place. And then all of a sudden, we realized that, okay, the same thing we do on Microsoft Teams, we can do it on the SharePoint. So instead of people going, because now what happens is people, for you to get on that long-term calendar, you have to start searching the Teams, which channel is on the Teams, on the Microsoft Teams. So it's kind of, too much. All right. So what we did was to now have the same long-term calendar and put it on SharePoint. Now, and it's just, people were used to going to the Teams to put it. Now, all we need to do is we all agree, say, from this day forward, everyone, please, we are going to turn off the one on the Teams. And everyone, please go to the SharePoint calendar, this place, and input your leave, if you're not going to be here, this is where you do it. And everybody agreed. Now we changed the way, but the good thing about it was we made it a lot easier to, number one, for people to find it. So it's right there in front of the page. On the SharePoint page, it's right there. You say personalized calendar. So for everyone to see, so it's not that difficult for you to find it. But when it was on Teams, though very functional, very effective, but sometimes it's hard to find because you have to dig into a channel because there are several Teams channels that we have. So that's a process change. We used to do it the other way around, but now we started doing it another way. So flexibility, and easy of use are essential components of a system, as they are crucial for ensuring its acceptability and utilization. So the knowledge contained within a system must be well maintained and up to date. So this is essential for building up your users' confidence in the system and ensuring that the decision is based on the latest information that is available. They are not digging for things. They know that whatever you have on this system, is the latest and greatest. So the system must be designed in accordance with your organizational strategic goal, the way your business process is aligned, the culture of the people, and the people that need to use the system, the end users, must be part of you. Of the implementation. You cannot do this in vacuum. You have to make sure you carry them along. Let me give you an example. I think I said this last week. We were building something. Okay, we were building something, and in the middle of it, because people felt I did not carry them along, which I know I did, because we have a review board where all those people are part of the review board. And I used to, tell them this is where we are in this. All of a sudden, they were not being carried along. But that thing, because they said I did not carry, we had to stop and now go, within 2 weeks, come up, make sure that all of them were on the same calendar, on the same page. Now brief them on where we are, starting from where we started, what we did to get there. That thing, just that alone, cost us 2 weeks. And within that 2 weeks, the people that were supposed to go on with this contract to test the system, they were gone. So now, instead of us achieving a goal, of finishing the beta testing, we could not, because of these people felt they were not being carried along. And the reason why it was important to carry them along are because they are the end users. So we are building the systems for them. So you want to make sure that the people that you're building the system, they are the ones that are going to use it. So if you do this thing in vacuum, none of them will use it. So you might just roll it out, and at the end of the day, nobody's going to use it. Maybe they use it haphazardly. In fact, up to the end, the point of naming the system. Naming the system was another drama because it took us a month just to name a system. I came up with name. And at the end of the day, everyone said, oh, let's carry everybody along. We have to do a survey. Oh, give us the best name. What do you think we're going to call this system? That drama took a month. That is part of the process. You have to be able to listen. You have to be able to do what they're asking you to do. Otherwise, nobody's going to, they will like, well, we're part of it. And they're not going to even help you to facilitate how this is going to work. So the above list of requirements is not the be all, the and end all. These are just the key ones that I decided to highlight. But there are lots of requirements that you need in order to have a KM, for a system to be classified in a knowledge management system. So when you are selecting a KM strategy, we talked about, I gave you guys templates and I gave you guys strategy focus last week, right? So in order for you to say, okay, this is the strategy, what does strategy mean? Basically, this is where we are heading to. This is what we're going to use to get to where we're heading to, right? There are certain questions that you should be asking. There are critical questions that you should be asking when you're coming up. So this week, all these things, all this grammar I'm speaking, we are talking all about strategy. Strategy. You have to have a strategy. You have to have a strategy. Next week, we're going to start with, I think, KM system itself. We're going to learn, maybe KM audit or KM system or KM standard. We're going to go into one of those. And we're going to be learning the technical aspect of KM. But for the sake of the exam, I won't be going through into the technical aspect of it, but I will, give you guys an overall what the system KM system should look like, or what the standard that guides a KM system. All right, but there are questions that you should be asking. When you're choosing the best, your own strategy, you have to come up with your own strategy. So number one question is, what do you hope to achieve through your own knowledge management program? You have a KM program. What problem do you think the KM program is going to solve? Your KM program, when you establish a KM program, you should identify the problems that you're trying to solve. You're not starting KM program because every other person, they have a KM program. No, you have to identify a problem or problems, and then you start. That is how you gain, relevance. And like I always preach, you must make sure that you tie your KM project to your overall company strategy. Now, the second question here is, what application do you think you need? So you're asking the question, okay, what is the problem I'm trying to solve? Now, what tool do I need in order to succeed, in order to solve that problem? Now, the third one I'm going to ask is your focus on the following best practice in-house? Is your focus on in-house? Is it establishing an external standard? Is your focus on encouraging innovation and creativity? Is your focus on learning knowledge from data? Remember, we talked about the difference between knowledge, data, and information. These are three different things. Is that your focus? So when you're selecting the strategy, you have to decide what focus, because your strategy is what's going to drive the success of your KM. Now, what technology do you think you need? And then, what technology do you already have? What is the existing technology? What do you have? Most government agencies, I will always go there because that's, for instance, I know that in the university, at Liberty University, we use Canvas. We use Canvas, for a whole lot of what we do. Okay, so now, do you have an existing technology? What do you have already? Some people have SharePoint. We have SharePoint at my agency. We use SharePoint a lot. So, and that's our collaborative, tool. So, can you leverage those tools that you already have? Can you leverage the technology that you already have? We have Power BI. That's what we use to display to metrics. You look at that. So what technology do you think you need? Which one do you have? Currently have? Now, another important question is, do your people rely on explicit or tacit knowledge? Ms. Abiba talked about, tacit knowledge earlier. So, do your people, do they rely on explicit or tacit knowledge in order to solve problems? This is part of the things that you as a KM person, for you to get these answers, you have to ask the question. And it could be as simple as just doing a survey. Running a survey, and then gauging the understanding of the people on where they are with their KM journey. Where are they in their KM journey? The people that work in your organization, they are the ones that are going to share this information with you. So now, and that takes us to, do you plan to analyze existing knowledge or to create new one? So that brings us to knowledge mapping. You do assessment and try to find out, where are all the knowledge? Where are all the experts? Where are all the people that are going to retire in the next 2 years, 5 years? You should work with your HR in order to identify these people. So we do onboarding and offboarding. We set up a place where when new people come in the agency, the KM program, we handle all these things. We handle the onboarding, we onboard contractors and government employees alike. We do offboarding, and that's when during the offboarding we have strategy where we do knowledge, transfer audit, and we ask them questions, say, tell us, who are the point of contact when it comes to doing your work? Who do you interact with? Give us all those information. So we need to gather all this from the people. So the next one here is, would you consider that your major activity fall in one or more of the following? So number one, classification, diagnosis, assessment, monitoring, optimization, configuration, planning, scheduling, control. What is your focus? What is going to be your major activity? What is going to be your central? Are you going to start classifying knowledge? Are you going to be doing knowledge assessment? Are you going to be monitoring what is currently happening? Are you looking at innovation? Are you going to reconfigure how your current system is designed? So what is your focus? These are the questions that you should be asking yourself, and you should be asking people. You should be asking, the stakeholders. So a perfect KM strategy that is linked to the overall business objective is, number one, it has a good metrics. There's a way you can measure it. You're able to monitor how you're progressing. And when you set up a KM program and you're trying to solve problems, you should always go back. So when you set up the program and say, okay, so before the KM program was implemented, this is where we are. So always take the before picture. Get assessment of where you are currently. The assist. So you take a picture of the assist where you currently are. And then when you implement the program, you now go back and ask questions. You ask the people, from the day we implemented this, are customers able to find information? Are we able to make faster decisions? Are we able to operationalize a lot of the things that, quite frankly, weren't, the way it should be? So these are the questions you're going to be asking. So a good KM strategy should have a way that you can measure your success. You should have a metrics that you can measure success. So a good KM strategy should be able to identify the key needs and issues within the organization. And that's why I said, you should be asking the question, what is your KM program trying to achieve? What are you trying to support? What is it that what are the issues that, who are the people that are going to tell you those things? The people that work, the workforce. And that's through survey. When you run the survey, that's how you get it. So, and finally, you should be able to provide a framework for addressing those issues that you've identified. That's what a good KM strategy does. So, now how do you assess KM? How do you decide or determine where an organization is in their KM journey? So how do you decide? How do you determine that? So you have to come up with a KM assessment tool. Remember the lab that I shared with us, the KM lab, and we're going to go into that. I'm hoping that I'll bring out a whole hour where we do like a complete KM assessment. So in, to evaluate the existing knowledge management practice, you should, number one, determine areas in need of improvement. You have to say, you have to what division, what directory, what business unit needs to be improved. What is the problem that they're facing? Most organizations, the number one thing they will tell you, the common KM issue is we are not able to find information. But if I say we're not able to find information, a typical person will say, oh, you're thinking about tool. But a KM person, so you want to start thinking like a KM person, a KM. So you want to think like, okay, it's not about the tool. Of course, you're definitely going to use tools. Of course, you're going to be you're supposed to know how the tool works. But for a KM person, you're thinking about the people first, the process first, because that is how you sustain the system. When you finally put the tool, the tool should be the last thing. When you finally put the tool, then you see that it's a lot easier, it's more efficient, and now it's sustainable. So number one, you're determining what areas within this organization need improvement. Now, the next thing is a KM assessment tool, to be able to provide the feedback that is needed for that improvement. Is it adequate? You have to be able to ensure that the KM support informs decision making at all levels. So whatever tool, whatever effort you're going to do to improve the process, whatever it has to make sure that it informs decision making at all levels. And the other one that I've been saying here is make sure that your KM objective is aligned to your overall strategy. And you should be able to communicate the management goals and priorities. You should be able to make sure that you even understand what the management goals. For instance, my project, the current project that I have now is our, we're trying to get a case management system. That is the directorate priority. And I'm the one running the program. I'm the person that is in charge of that particular program. For us to get a case management system. And that is our agency strategy. And that is our priority. You should be able to promote and motivate desired behavior of employees. So when somebody shares, create an award program, have a day that you say, okay, this is KM week or KM month. And then you highlight people that are, quite frankly, doing, good, positive KM behavior. They're able to share knowledge, what they know, and that is captured through the community of practice. There's KM award. You should be able to stimulate learning and innovation. So a KM tool, assessment tool, is crucial because it provides a diagnostic, evidence-based understanding of the organization's KM strength and weakness. It gives you like a whole picture when it comes to where their strength lies and where their weakness lies. So it shows that KM is not a guesswork, but it's a problem solving, it's focused, it's intentional, and it's also data driven way of doing something that ensures that whatever investment or whatever effort you put is targeted at giving you the maximum impact, the maximum result. It shows that what you're doing actually makes sense because it's aligned to the overall organizational strategy. So you think of it, the assessment tool, as a comprehensive medical checkup. Like when you come into the agency, you're like, okay, as soon as you say, okay, you're in charge of this KM program, you're doing a holistic diagnosis. Okay, where are you in your KM journey? you're asking people, you're doing a medical checkup, first medical checkup on the organization's knowledge health. You're like, okay, let's assess where they are now. So without doing a KM assessment, you're just doing a guesswork. You're just like, okay, maybe you have a headache, or maybe it's a stomach pain. No, you can't do that. Oh, maybe this your problem is customer service issue. Oh no, your problem is searchability or findability. No, you for you to do that, you do a survey, and that's through that survey you're able to capture what people need, where they are in your KM journey. If you through that survey, you're able to identify if your agency is a KM organization. All right. So with the assessment tool, you're able to capture this. You're able to get specific tests, like a blood work, that gives you data on what KM issue you're facing as an organization. So you're able to look at a comprehensive way of, looking at what is the KM culture, what is the culture of this, and who are the people that are in your KM, do you have a leadership buy-in? You're able to, with that survey that you're doing, you're looking at the processes, the governance process. You're looking at your technology infrastructure. You're looking at, okay, do we have this in place? What do you have? Do you have existing things? How do you manage, your SharePoint content, your knowledge assets? Where are they? Who are the people? Who are the champions? Who are the experts within your KM? Do you have a mature KM? Do you have, how strategic it is? You're looking at this thing holistically. Okay, so that is why assessment, having an assessment, of your KM role, of your KM, where your KM is within that organization, is critical and is important. All right. So we have exactly 11:45. Please take some time, take another 15 minutes, and come back at 12 so I can get some water to drink. All right. So come back at 12. Stretch your legs, and we come back. I think we can drive this home for today. All right. So come back at 12. Welcome back. All right. I hope you guys can still hear me. So the next topic we are going to be discussing is KM Strategic Framework Initiative. So by organizing initiative within a structured framework, an organization can ensure that its KM program is balanced, is comprehensive, and it systematically builds on capabilities that is needed for you to become a solid, KM driven organization. So you don't just want to create anything, or come up with anything in the vacuum. You want to make sure that you are intentional when you're building your KM framework, your KM program. You want to make sure that it's balanced. You want to make sure that you're looking at the entire picture. And how do you do that? I'm going to highlight certain things that you need in order to come up with a solid strategic framework. And number one is people and culture, right? Number two is processes. You want to make sure that you identify uh, what is the culture of the people. What are they doing now? What is their fallback to behavior as as a people? All right. Within that organization, what is their fallback behavior? What is it that they do? How do they do things currently? What is the culture of the people? What is the process that you have in place? So the initiative should be embedded in the way you do your KM on a daily basis, on every day. The second one is content and technology. Yeah, I know it's not gonna your KM program shouldn't be technology driven, but technology should always support what you're doing, but you're not going to focus it on that. So you want to make sure that you provide the tools and ensure that every knowledge that is created, every knowledge that is captured, every knowledge that is shared is valuable. And the last one here is, the governance. You want to make sure that you have a structure in place where people take ownership of, whatever aspect of the KM role that they are playing. They take ownership, that you're able to measure the impact of KM within your organization. And also, you're able to provide a structural way, a structure, of how you do things. And that's why we're talking about KM strategy. Strategy helps you, put structure in place. So we are going to be looking into each of those as a pillar in your strategic framework. So we're going to look at people and culture as a pillar. We are going to look at process as a pillar. We are going to look at technology and content as a pillar. And also we are going to look at governance process as a pillar. Okay. So, and then we're just going to dive into, into each of them and see how are they relevant to your KM initiative. Now, let's go to culture and people initiative. So the goal of people and culture initiative is number one, to create a culture where sharing and reusing knowledge is expected in the organization. People are expected to share knowledge. People are expected to reuse knowledge. And in that organization, people are expected, knowledge sharing and reusing is rewarded. So if someone, have a nice or a good KM practice, that, encourages sharing of knowledge, you reward it. And also, knowing that sharing knowledge and reusing it is also natural, is part of what we do as an organization. So that might lead to you as a KM person, launching a KM awareness campaign. So part of your organizational culture now means that every month there's a KM awareness campaign that you put it on a front of your organizational website. So that could lead to you developing a branding campaign. How you have to brand it, you have to make it look really classy. The name that you're going to use, the logo that you're going to use. You also have to have a charter, a KM charter for your program. You make it official. So that will lead to people, okay, if I'm doing this, what am I going to gain from it? You have to create a buzz, make it in such a way that people are excited about your KM program. Now, the next one is for you to also have a KM champion. Identify and also train an enthusiastic, group of volunteers in each unit. Remember, I talked about forming a knowledge management working group, a KM working group. And each of these people becomes your evangelist. These volunteers from each, when you're forming it, make sure that each business group, each unit, each directorate, each division, each branch, you identify one person that is going to be supporting your KM initiative. And they are going to be the ones advocating for whatever KM thing that you guys are doing. And they are the ones that are going to give you feedback. They're going to provide feedback in what you're doing. The next one, when we're talking about people and culture, is, you have to develop and also implement a KM training program. It can be something, some people call it lunch and learn. Maybe during lunch, people can just log on to maybe the Teams channel and listen to people, talk about, KM best practices, or what is, the tools that are there now, the innovative tools. And you can also create a role-based training for different people, different users, for instance, how to conduct a lesson learned section can be a training, and everybody will key in. And even before you start the training, you kind of sensitize people to it and say, hey, next week or next month, we're going to be learning how to conduct lesson learned. Or next one, you say, oh, how to contribute to knowledge base. So we do have a knowledge base. So we're going to be training people on how to contribute to those knowledge base. And then the next thing you have to do is, you have to try to integrate KM into the performance goals. And that means that you have to work with your HR, the human resources, or the human capital division, to include knowledge sharing behaviors, like contributing to lessons, mentoring, answering questions in communities of practice, put all those things into your performance review and also incentive. So, which means on your maybe 3 performance objective for that year, you have to put knowledge management as part of it. And then, with the people and culture, you also have to launch a leadership engagement program. Look for someone who is a senior leader, or, within your organization, and, talk to that person to sponsor your program. And make sure that the individual, you're able to equip them, to be able to showcase knowledge management, to model knowledge management, to champion the behaviors of, the people when it comes to knowledge management. We do have such a person, and the person is a senior leader within our agency. We have a knowledge management champion, and that is how most of our initiatives are driven. So the second pillar we're going to talk about is the process initiative. And the goal of this is to embed knowledge management into the core workflow of the organization by implementing learning before, during, and after circle, right? How do you do this? So before learning is basically you introduce a project kickoff meeting, right? That, include, looking at past, project. What have what we did last time? What are the lessons learned? What, in our past project, let's take a look at the past project. What can we learn from the mistakes we made? Then we're talking about during, you it's like establishing like a pair assist, program where the the team members can help the experts during the project. So they can, for those who are not very familiar with certain aspect of the business, because you're bringing every single one together, right? Each of them have their own special expertise, special, they are SMEs, they are subject matter experts in their own area, but because they are all together, they are able to help each other, to assist each other, to be able to share what they know, their own. If anyone is derailing, they're going to say, okay, I think this is how it works. From my own understanding, I'm a security expert, so this is how I'm looking at it from security perspective. Then after is basically institutionalizing standards, right? You know, Looking at lesson learned, after action reviews. What can we learn? When now that we are in this place now, what can we learn from before what has happened to us? You know, is there a way we can improve things? So the next one is you're looking at, okay, now we have all these experts. We have people that, have different expertise within the organization. How do I identify those people? You're looking at the process now. How do I identify these people? So I can create, a systems that will populate something like Yellow Page, where, if I need someone that is an expert in Microsoft, um, Excel or whatever, Microsoft package or that they are expert on, we can identify this person. Let's say you need someone who is a network engineer. We need someone that is a database engineer. We need someone that can is an expert in drawing process flow. We have all these people captured in the system just by mere typing process engineer. That person's name pops up and I'm able to reach out to the person. Now, the next one within the process, you can also establish a knowledge harvesting process. You create a formal process for interviewing, retiring experts or capturing knowledge from critical projects before, the team is disbanded. So before you get rid of it, we had a project where we formed a tiger team. So this tiger team, basically, they were supposed to help us with scrubbing the database, right? So because we chose them, how did we choose these people? But because they were expert in using that particular system, right? We identified them from different units and we formed the tiger team. So at the end of the day, before the tiger, they had a stipulated time, 3 months time to accomplish it. Before they disbanded those teams, all we did was to interview each of them and capture what they've learned from this experience. And we're able to, have that documented so that when we are faced with something like this again, they'll be like, all we need to do, just go to those where we documented that and have this, those information so that we can use it to improve the next one. We don't have to repeat the mistake that these people have made. Okay? Because we have it documented. So the next one is, embedding KM into the business process. So that means basically integrating knowledge review into developing your business sales process, developing how you onboard people, just having this embedded, into your regular business practice or how you operate as a business. So the third one we're going to look at is technology and content initiative. So the goal is basically to provide user-friendly tool that, and I talked about it earlier, that is of high quality and that is accessible. There's no need for me to produce or to develop a system where, quite frankly, people, instead of me solving problem, I'm even making life more difficult for the end user. Nobody's going to use it. So how do you do that? You conduct a technology audit and roadmap by assessing the current tool. For instance, what kind of tool do you have now? We have SharePoint, you have Teams. Identify those and develop a plan to consolidate and integrate, or implement a new one or a new platform. All right. Or having a dedicated, KM software for the agency to use. And that becomes where everyone goes. Whatever, if you need to search anything, that is the type of the location that you will go. You can even launch a pilot community of practice. I keep saying community of practice. This should be like your lingo. Stuff like this comes out from in the exam. Community of practice. What do you understand by community of practice? So basically, identify critical knowledge domain. This is where you say, okay, these are cybersecurity experts. Put them there. Digital. So all the cybersecurity experts. This is where they share common cybersecurity knowledge. If you have a group of digital marketers, you put them in one community of practice. They share information about digital marketing, everything about digital marketing. You can have different community of practice. You have knowledge management community of practice. You have cybersecurity community of practice. You have digital marketers. You have customer service. Depending on how big your agency is, you can formally launch a community of practice. You can even create a charter where everyone understands their role and responsibility. You have a leader, and you also have a dedicated collaborative space where you guys, engage with each other on a weekly basis or a bi-weekly basis, depending on what you guys determine or decides to do. And you can even start up a core knowledge based cleanup, where you audit existing knowledge repository, archive outdated one, come up with a way to structure information for easier findability, establish a clear content ownership. And so you should have one person should be the person that is in charge of helping make sure that they look at the quality of the information that goes up to your website. Without that person, or they alternate, no information goes up to the website. You can even implement a smart search functionality for your website. So you upgrade your enterprise search capability. You can even add AI to it, and have your taxonomy in such a way that it tags every single thing, every single data, every single knowledge. So you don't have that static search engine. You have a dynamic one now. So your search capability becomes very robust in your website. It's like having a Google with AI embedded in your company website. Lastly, you can also come up with a social collaboration platform within your agency. So if you don't already have it, you can introduce one. And some people, they always they use Slack. So, or they use what they call Viva Engage, Microsoft Viva Engage, where you use it more to you link it to social media, and you're able to engage, you're able to collaborate with your folks, that at least externally, from people that do the same thing as you. And that's the way you can, people can ask questions, you can answer, experts can answer. I don't know if you guys know about there's another one. It's called I have it here. Hold on. It's called it's called Quora. Quora. That's where experts, any question can be answered on Quora. So that's a social platform, collaboration platform where people ask questions, people answer. So the fourth pillar here is governance and measurement. So the goal of this is to, ensure that your KM program is sustainable, is aligned, and also is delivering value. So how do you do that? from having a cross-functional steering committee with your senior leaders. So your governance board, all our governance board have, all, the division chiefs, the branch chiefs, the assistant directors, they are part of our governance board. And I lead that governance board every month. At the end of every month, the last Monday of every month, I present to them what we are doing, with all the initiative, where we are, all the projects I just highlight. And then if there's a decision, a project that needs decision, I'll highlight to them, we need a decision to move forward on this particular one. So that is where we resolve issues. We provide oversight. They provide oversight. We resolve issues. We discuss on our priorities, engagement. You can also, develop a KM value and metrics network. You can define how you will measure success. You have to determine how you want to measure success. You have to determine what does success mean. And also you make sure that whatever you're measuring, your goal should be achievable too. So you can have things like activities metrics, like, number of lessons submitted, how many people are part of your community of practice. You can count those, because the more your community of practice membership, the more, successful your prominent your KM program is. Imagine if you have half of your agency joining the community of practice in your, that's a big achievement. So that means that, the buzzword is going to be knowledge management. So how many people submit lessons learned? So you can measure things like output metrics. How many people, are able to search? What is the search success rate? If somebody searches something, are they able to find it? What is the rate of finding what they search, what they are searching? How are you able to reduce time in measuring, time for people to find something? How long does it take someone to find something when they conduct a search on your website? How long does it take them? You can also measure your outcome metrics. So reduced project cycle time, cost saving. Are you able to save cost? Are you able to gain, if you propose something, are you able to say, okay, we are proposing this template, the use of this template. This is how this template we're going to be using. Are you able to get a buy-in from people to say, you know what, yeah, that's the right way to go? That's how you measure, success. But you have to define it. What is that measurement? What is that success? What is this? And you can also conduct a baseline KM assessment. You can use a standardized tool, to be able to, kind of discuss what you've done previously. And also be able to measure, okay, what is the current KM maturity model? What is the current, how have we grown in our KM program? All right. So there's a question here that says, how do you encourage people that see KM as extra work rather than part of the routine? Thank you. Great question. That means that, so for that question, you have to be able to, people that, if you carry them along from day one, okay, you have to make sure that it starts from the top, right? Including that KM thing, your KM program, your KM initiative, whatever is that KM activities that you're doing, as part of their, number one, when you align it to the strategic objective, they have to make sure that when they are doing their evaluation, when they are doing their objective for the year, KM is part of the activity that they should be doing. KM should be part of their objective. So if KM is part of your objective, naturally, what you do is you start looking for any activities that is related to KM. So when you see that it's not going to be like an additional duty, and also you have to make those individual part of what you're doing. They have to they have to be part of the working group. That individual. So it's not like they joined your implementation of KM in the middle. No, they were part of that solution. So if I'm part of the solution, if I'm part of the person that said, oh, let's add this to what we are trying to do, I'm not going to see it as an additional duty. Although in some places, where they don't have a dedicated KM person, yes, KM is seen as KM is an additional duty because that is not your fundamental thing. But the way you get them, not to make it as an extra work is now you reach out to them and find a problem within their own division that they are trying to solve. Find a problem that they are trying to solve, or find a way. You have to answer, how do I make things, with what you do now, how can I make it a lot easier for you to make your duty a lot, more efficient? So now they are part of the solution. You have to make them part of the solution. You have to ask them questions so that they can become part of the process. That way, even if they were voluntold, they were nominated by their leaders to be part of this, or you reached out to them and say, hey, I would like you to be part of this knowledge management working group. This is what we are trying to do. And then they have to find, so that's the question of what is in it for me? Because they will be asking, okay, what do I gain from this? So if they're able to, you have to find a benefit for them. You have to find something that benefits them. That way they will have buy-in. For instance, try to to put their own priorities, their own problem, their own, as part of the KM priority. You guys will have a KM priority projects and make sure that everyone issues are outlined there, and then you guys now the KM working group, you guys will decide the order of priority, and when it's their own priority is mentioned, when their own priority is mentioned, then they will have to lead the discussion. Say, hey, tell us about your own, the issue you're facing when it comes to KM. Yes, a lot of organizations that don't have anyone that is dedicated as a KM, they don't have a dedicated KM program, they don't have a dedicated KM people. Most of their job is an additional duty. But in order for you to get them to buy into, you have to be solving problems for them. You have to, find out what problem they are looking to be solved. And then you highlight those their problem and have them lead some of the discussion. So they don't see it now they won't see it as an additional duty or extra work. They will see it as part of what they have to do in order to have their own job accomplished. So you see what I how I tackled it. You have to make sure that you're looking to solve their problem so that now they are not seeing that as an extra work, but they are seeing it as a way of developing a tool or make a process that will help them do their own job better. But they have to be able to identify the problem they are facing into all your KM priorities. Does that answer the question? Thumbs up will be fine.
Yes, sir, that it does answer the question. Thank you so much.
Does that answer the question?
Yes, sir, it does answer the question.
Okay, I'll take the silence as a
I
response. All right. Okay, good. And another thing here that, sometimes is very difficult to do is coming up with a KM policy, but you have to drive it. So a lot of those things, a lot of all this grammar that I spoke, in order for it to be very effective and people to say, okay, this is part of what we are supposed to do, is, quite frankly, you have to create a KM policy. You have to say, okay, this is our KM policy. Also, you have to create a charter. What a KM charter is going to do is, apportion or assign roles and responsibilities to each people. Okay, sometimes that's the best way to go. Policy, let policy drive it, because sometimes if there is not in policy, you probably can't enforce it. So let's look at some KM drivers. What drives KM? What is the motivation? What is the thing that makes people say, you know what, in order for us to succeed, and this is where we have to focus. So let's look at some KM drivers. Number one KM driver is trying to retain critical knowledge, or when you have brain drain. So the risk of losing, people that have been in the organization for so long, and they have all this tacit knowledge. They've been with the organization. They know they are the go-to person. They are sometimes they are the single point of failure for the organization. Sometimes the companies are afraid to lose these people, because they feel if this person leaves now, God forbid, they'll get out on the road and get hit by a bus, you can't find anything. So that's one of the things that make organizations say, you know what, I think it's time for us to establish a knowledge management program so that we can be able to capture all this information. So if this person leaves, we are good to go. So these are like internal, external forces and needs and goals that, compel an organization to do something about, retaining knowledge, retaining, their experts, or even being able to transfer, knowledge from one person to the other. That is what driver is, a knowledge management driver. They are like the why behind, doing something, establishing a KM program. Another motivation is, the fact that every person does their own thing. There's a lot of silos, the breakdown silos. There's a lot of things, scattered all over the place. Different people do their own thing, you know. This helps for KM helps for organizations to enable collaboration and knowledge flow across different departments, different people that are scattered all over the place. KM is the one that brings all these people together, by establishing that collaboration to where if people are teleworking, if people are, dispersed all over the place, but yet they can collaborate, they can share documents from one place to the other. Some of them can even work on the document live while things are going. The other one is onboarding and training. So the goal is to accelerate the time to, competence for new employees by providing them easy access to, the organizational know-how, what they should know as new employees, where they can find things. There's something we do in our agency. When someone is hired brand new, we have a 5-day training. The 5-day training covers, I think it's 4 days training. It covers everything about not
It's
only
so
the
weird.
agency, but also the division, the directorates that they are coming in. So every system that we have, we'll brief them on that system. And guess who manages it? The KM program. Every system. We call it the CI new. Okay. So when you're brand new to that, to the CI directorate, we show you, it's a training that shows you everything about us. Who are the leaders, who manages what different division, directorate, branches, what they do. People will come, What is the policy that guides us to do what we do? What is that policy? What is the policy, that helps us, do what is the authority that we use to do what we do?
Did I
We
hear
will
my
learn
last
all those
question?
policy.
Oh, thank you, Jesus.
So we do onboarding training. So after you have done the agency's onboarding training, you have to do our own onboarding training. We show you everything, how you can access whatever you need to access. Who is who within the agency. You will learn all those things within four days. Within 4 days, we'll show you all these things. So KM drivers are number one, retention of critical knowledge because of the need to retain critical knowledge. The breakdown of silos, the need to collaborate, onboarding new employees, training. We establish training where you understand what goes on. So you can be able to find things. The need to improve decision making, the need to ensure decisions at all levels are based on best available knowledge and lessons from the past, rather than the gut's feeling or incomplete information. You don't want that. So you want to be able to learn, the best way to make decision. But you can only make decision with information, with what you have, with what you know. You can, making sure that you get all the picture before you now table it. So KM helps you show all the picture. So, think of it this way. KM strategy is the plan for how how you plan to manage knowledge, the plan for managing knowledge. That is what KM strategy is. Now, when you're talking about KM initiative, is that action that you take in order to manage knowledge. So number one, strategy. So all these things we are learning. Think about it in 4 aspects. We've talked about strategy. We've talked about initiative. Now we are talking about drivers. What is strategy? Strategy is that plan for managing knowledge. What is initiative? Initiative is the action you take to manage knowledge. Now, what is drivers? Drivers are the reasons you need that plan and the action in the first place. So why do you need that action? Why do you need that plan? Drivers are that. So in order for you to implement something, you need a plan. In order for you to drive that plan, you need an action, right? Now, why do you need the plan and action? The drivers, the reason is because you want to retain knowledge. You want to break down silos. You don't want silos. You don't want people to be doing, you want to make sure that everybody is able to collaborate. You want to be able to ensure that when you are onboarding new people, they understand where they need to go. They understand who they need to talk to, who are the experts. And also better decision making. All right. So I don't know if we should go on break. I wanted to see if I can finish up this, before 1, if you don't mind. If you guys want us to go on break another 15 minutes, we can, but I would love to, finish this before 1 so that you guys can go take, the rest of the day. So if you want me to finish it, I can finish it. I think I have additional slides that I can go quickly. But if I sit on a particular topic, just know that that topic is important for your exam. Would you want to take a break, or you want us to drive this home? I'm not hearing. Okay, take a break then. Take a 15 minutes break. And then when you come back at 1, we just finish. I didn't hear any person. I didn't see any person. Let me see. Drive it home. No break. Drive it home. Okay. So we have 2 people that's okay. Then let's drive it home. Thank you. All right. The next one we are going to talk about is the operational framework, KM operational framework. And there's a reason why I'm foot stomping on some of these concepts. So I've talked about people, system and process, or technology. You can replace system with technology. So I've been foot stomping on it. There's a reason why I'm foot stomping on it, because it's an exam question. It's an exam question. This is like a strategy. Your KM strategy should focus on people, process, and technology, right? But make sure that your initial default should be people. I'm not ruling out the fact that you need technology, but you need to change the people's mindset. After you change the people mindset, the next one is codification, which is process, and then system information technology. People is all about connectivity. People are going to drive the effort. People are the ones that are going to do the thing. So your KM operational framework is centered on three critical factors. Number one, people. Number two, which is connectivity. Number two is process, which is codification, right? And then system, which is information technology. So this basically shows the how. So the operational framework of KM focuses on the how. These three things that I said, people, system, process, is all about the how. So it details the specific system, the specific process, and tool that will be used to manage knowledge. What are those things that you need in order to manage knowledge? We are learning about knowledge management. Knowledge management. You need a tool, you need people, you need process in order for you to manage knowledge. This is a good exam question. But I don't know how the question is going to be set, but you need to understand these critical factors, right? What do you need to manage knowledge? You need people, you need system, you need process. Process is all about codification. People is all about connectivity, and system is all about information technology. So it translates the strategy into a tangible action. So let's take this thing one by one. Let's take it one by one. So hopefully, we'll round up today's class on time. Now, let's talk about people. So you have to have a plan for addressing the human side of your knowledge management effort. And that is when you talk about change management. Change management. You want to make sure when you're initiating change, because knowledge management is all about, introducing something new. Someone is doing something in a particular way. Now, you came to say, okay, I don't want you to do this, and this is the better way to do it. You want to make sure that you're not adding to them. Remember, Mrs. Victor talked about, how do you make sure that, I asked the question, how do you make sure that people are not seeing this as an extra work? So you don't want to make it an extra work for them. So you want to make it easy and efficient, and you want to make sure that you're also solving their own problem. So they see it as you're putting something that is going to help them make their work easier. So that's how you sell it. You're a salesperson. You're trying to sell them that. So change management is one of the, when you're talking about people, you're talking about change management. This is basically how to overcome the resistance and foster a knowledge management culture. You have to be able to do that. So in order to do that, you have to be able to define who your champions are, who the community of practice leaders are, who are the people that are forthcoming when it comes to your community of practice, who are the knowledge owners, who are those subject matter experts. You need to be able to define those people. You need to be able to identify them. So when you do that, you should be able to incentivize a lot of this, to be able to give them incentive. and recognition. You need to know, how do you reward these people? How do you encourage them to, quite frankly, share knowledge and also reuse the knowledge, or tell you how to reuse the knowledge that is already, or that you guys already have? So that is important. So people aspect is one of the solid things that you want to look at when it comes to the KM operational framework. The other one is processes. Now, you're looking at the specific KM activity and how the workflow goes. And you should be able to embed this, put it in your day-to-day work, day-to-day activity. For example, you can standardize how you do your lesson learn, your peer assistance, how you have your expertise locators or expert directorates, the list of the people that are there. You can make it as part of your onboarding process. So as soon as you hire that individual, just tell them to go to a link and download all their certifications. Every certification they have, let them put it there. Every area of their, what they know that most people don't know that they know that, let them put it there. You capture their profile, so that if someone is looking for something or their own area of expertise, just a simple search will pop up their name and they will reach out. Oh, I didn't know you know how to use Excel. Please show me how to create a formula. Okay. So that is the processes. You have to standardize how these things, how it's done. So the last one I'm going to talk about that I said, don't focus on it, but use it as a solution or as a so technology is what shows that, okay, now we are doing KM. Now there's something, because people, yeah, you can talk about process, you can talk about people, but if they don't see it, if they don't see something, they won't believe that you guys are doing work. So technology is that thing that shows, oh, here is the work that we are doing so far. So that's the tool. Okay. So, and when you're talking about, technology, you're looking at two things. One is your content strategy, and also how you stack your technology. Basically, it's all about, selecting the right platform. For instance, we have an intranet. Our intranet is SharePoint. That's what everybody uses. And I'm sure across DoD, SharePoint is what everybody uses. And we use it as a collaborating tool. And now people are even embedding search in AI in their search, and just make sure that it's user friendly and it's fit for the purpose that you're using it. Then the next one is about content strategy. You have to be able to define knowledge, that and how that knowledge is going to be captured and how it's going to be structured. You're talking about taxonomy. So taxonomy is the technical aspect of, KM. That is how your knowledge is structured, how most of you that are in IT should probably, this is a familiar word to you guys. Okay. And you're thinking about, okay, the content that we have, our content strategy. When you're coming up with the content strategy, you want to make sure that, okay, how relevant is it? What quality of, content are we putting up on the website? And who is going to be maintaining this? Okay. So those are the things that you have to look into. So let's take a look at the effect of lack of strategy. You don't have strategy, what happens if you don't have strategy, if you don't have one? If you don't have a strategy, there's going to be an incoherent knowledge vision or lack of ownership of the vision. Everything is going to be everywhere. It's like you guys are not, you're not structured. You're doing something. You just, tomorrow you wake up and you can start it. Nobody have ownership. Nobody's paying attention. There's no role. There's nothing, because you don't have strategy. Everything is all over the place. But when you have strategy, it gives you structure. The second one is lack of appreciation of knowledge as an important aspect. You should be able to sell knowledge as an asset. Knowledge is a currency. So you should be able to sell it. You should be able to highlight those that are subject matter experts within your organization. That's what helps. That's what makes them, it motivates some of them and recognize them for doing best practices in knowledge management. So without strategy, there is going to be lack of an information sharing culture and information sharing climate. Everyone is going to be hoarding knowledge. Like they will use it as a point of securing their job. And the day they leave the job, they leave without knowledge. So you as a KM expert, you want to make sure that you break those silos. Without strategy, there's going to be inappropriate method or tools for measuring and valuing knowledge. It's just going to be, people can come up with whatever they want, however they want it. And, quite frankly, they'll make things up. And the last one I have here is inadequate standardized process. There's not going to be, everything is just going to be everywhere. There's not going to be standard. There's going to, you might not even have a SOP, standard operating procedure on how you do it. Just ask people, they say, oh, this is how I do it. This is how I do it. But there's no standardized way of doing it. And that is a mistake. Okay. So let's, end today's lesson with knowledge management, no. Knowledge management, don'ts. Knowledge, these are the things you should not do. These are the things you should not do as a KM practitioner, as a knowledge management person. Don't try this. Number one, don't treat KM as a project. I know I've been saying, oh, KM project, KM program. I've been, please don't confuse it. The reason is don't see KM as a one-off thing or as an IT solution. You say, I brought this. This is important. KM should not be seen as a project. You know why? Who can tell? Please, I really need to drive this home. Why should you not treat KM as a project? Just unmute yourself. I need one or two people to answer me, please. This is the last aspect of our training today, and you can go and rest. Please, can anybody tell me why you should not treat KM as a project? Please, it will help me to
I
know that you understand.
I would suggest because it's an ongoing thing, like it's a continual long-term process. And I feel like with projects, there's a start to a project and an end to a project, whereas KM management, it's the continuation of your role
Yes.
here
Perfect.
at the job.
Perfect. That's all I want to hear. Because KM is a continuous project, is a program. It's not a project. So a project, like Janelle said, has a beginning, an initiation, and it has a close. It's not a one-off. The project is a one-off thing. So when you end this, you start another project. But the program is ongoing, it's continuous, and it shouldn't be you can't throw an IT solution to it. It should not be an IT solution, but IT can drive it. Okay. So you start with a business problem. That's how you start. Remember, you identify a problem that you're trying to solve. You look at the desired behavior and what are the processes in place. And then you use technology to support them. Technology should be a supporting tool. Not like, okay, hey, someone needs a search engine. Boom, you throw a technology at it. So the second one that I want you to focus is don't focus on capturing knowledge without enabling its reuse. So design every capture process with an end user in mind. So what does that mean? So it should not be you're capturing knowledge for the sake of capturing knowledge, but there's nothing, So you capture the knowledge and make sure that that knowledge is valuable to someone. There should be someone that is going to be needing that knowledge. So there is someone that, so whatever knowledge you capture, make sure that there's someone that is directed to, that is going to help. Okay. The second part is, don't build it and they will come. Don't have that mindset of, if we build it, people will come. No. You have to run KM like a product launch. Identify your user and understand their pain point. First of all, that means that you have to carry the end users along. You can't create it. That's the worst mistake most people do, is you create something and you expect that people are going to use it. So who are you creating it for? You're creating the thing for people. So make sure that the people are part of the plan. They are part of, they are the ones that you're doing this thing for. Right? You're creating it for someone. So they have to be part of the plan. So don't separate KM from your daily work. It have to, and that is why that question that Mrs. Victor asked is very vital, right? It's very, very pertinent to what we're doing. That, why, how am I going to make this as not an extra duty or additional work for me? You have to make it as part of, you have to embed KM as part of the process. This is what we do. We are KM organization. So embed KM into the natural flow of work. Integrate lesson learned steps into the project management life cycle. Like, if you're building anything, make sure that you have a lesson learned embedded in it, whatever you're doing. It should not be a one size fits all. Your KM program should not be one size fit all. All right. So don't use it as, okay, let's just, if we do this, don't worry, people are going to use it. Nobody's going to use it. Maybe they might use it for the first 3 or 6 months. After that, they will, because they were not part of the thing. And in fact, that's how they see it as an additional duty, because they were not part of it. They're not going to embrace it. So you want to make sure, that your KM program is effective, and to be effective, your knowledge management has to be more than just a technology solution. So what I'm saying here is that the biggest KM don't is when you approach KM as a technical, top-down, one-size fit all, process of documenting something. No, no. The successful approach, the best effective approach, is for you to approach KM as a human-centric, value-driven, and integrated effort that makes sharing of knowledge and finding of knowledge easier than not doing so. So that's how people embrace it. That's how people find value in it. So it's exactly 1 o'clock. We are going to end here, and I will open it up for question. If there's no question, please